Hiya folks, it's the Trickster of Lightning Anime, here to give you a new lore video for Tokyo Ghoul. I'm still scripting the Magic type video for Black Clover, so I want to talk about something else that I really like. It's one of my favorite manga of all time, and I recently decided to start rereading it. Now, this is mostly about the ghouls. Humans, Quinks, Chimera, and so on will not be involved. This is not about any special type of ghoul, there's just the general ghoul and their abilities, how they're made, and so on. With that said, what is a ghoul? Well, a ghoul is, in simple terms, a human who has been influxed to a higher degree than average of RC cells. RC, or red children cells, are this unknown cell type that exists in Tokyo Ghoul. We're not sure how it actually had formed or showed up. It just naturally exists, or is a mutated cell that exists within all humans. It's not really clear which. They're known as RC, or red children cells, because each individual cell looks similar to a curled up fetus, which is actually kind of cool in my opinion. But the important thing is the fact that these exist in all people, ghouls and humans alike. This also means that people with enough of them become ghouls. And it's also important to note that these things are considered liquid muscle. They flow like blood but can become as solid as teeth. Typically, ghouls stalk RC cells by eating people and other ghouls. And when they consume them, they all rest in the Kakaho sac. The Kakaho sac is essentially this gland of sorts that contains RC cells. It's where all your RC cells are contained, and depending on the rating of a ghoul from C to triple S plus, they will have more Kakaho sacs that imply more power. Now, ghouls are, fundamentally speaking, mutated humans. They are no different from you or me or anyone else, aside from the fact they have a higher than average RC cell count. With that said, how much RC cells do the human typically have? Around roughly 2 to 500, maybe? To where an average ghoul is double that at the very least. 1,000 at bare minimum. That's typically enough to be considered a C-rated ghoul. Why are ghouls rated? Well, ghouls are typically rated because the more RC cells they have, the more mutated they are. The more mutated they are, the more dangerous they are, because their abilities are that much stronger. Think of it like fuel. RC cells are fundamentally fuel to ghouls, and the more fuel they have, the more powerful they are. Now, that being said, it's not always a mutation. For whatever reason, a normal human who receives an excess amount of RC cells will start to develop ghoul-like characteristics. However, if they do not develop ghoul characteristics, they would develop something called RC cell oversecretion disease, or ROS. It is a rare chronic disease that affects 1 in every 1 to 3 million people. It's basically what happens when the minuscule amount of RC cells already in the human body begin to excessively secrete out of control. In other words, they overproduce and discharge from the body at an alarming rate. It's unknown if ROS is a hereditary disease, and including if it's terminal or not. There's no known cure for this, though it can be managed by RC suppressants, which are commonly used by investigators to subdue ghouls. RC cell suppressants take down ghouls, and they limit how often their body can output RC cells, limiting their cognate, which I'll talk about in a minute. However, at the end of the series, it is a cure was found, and it's given to most people who suffer from ROS. It's not that many, but still. RC cells are the sole reason that ghouls are so powerful. Without RC cells, you are no different from a normal human. They spread throughout specialized vessels. They spread from the kakaho to permit the body to produce the cognate to the outside. They also, to an extent, increase your physical attributes, as Kaneki, without really trying to, was so much stronger than he was able to knock someone out with just gently tapping them with his elbow. They also allow you to jump high distances, run faster than people can track, and so on. Ghouls are no joke. That being said, however, half ghouls are special because when their RC vessels are injured, they actually develop more powerful RC vessels, similar to the idea of breaking a limb, the limb comes back stronger, the bone comes back stronger, excuse me. But it's proven throughout the series that if a half ghoul, a one-eyed ghoul, or a quinx is injured, their RC vessels grow back much, much stronger and can do much, much more demanding tasks. Shown when Kaneki endured 10 days of torture by Jason, his physical attributes due to his half-ghoul status grew so drastically, he was able to effortlessly destroy the, at one point, much, much stronger ghoul, and afterwards, when fighting Ayato, was able to completely obliterate him in combat, despite the fact that he was by all accounts probably the stronger ghoul, he was able to completely destroy him because of his new abilities. Now, ghouls require a diet subsisting of RC cells. Ghouls can only eat humans, or other ghouls, because they have this giant supply of RC cells. Varying supplies, actually, but still. A human typically having 200 to 500 RC cells makes them edible to humans. A ghoul with much, much more RC cells makes them disgusting to ghouls, but still edible. That's the important distinction. Kaneki could eat Jason or Yamori, but he was disgusting to him. Kaneki tried eating a sandwich at the beginning of the series, and it was disgusting and revolting to him to the point where he couldn't feast. They were both equally disgusting to him, but he could ingest one of them, and he even puked it, pushed it down, I guess. I don't know. The more ghouls eat non-human or non-ghoul stuff, like normal human food, their bodies instinctively just disregard it and try to vomit it up immediately. Ghouls cannot eat human food. That's why they're considered so dangerous to humans, because they can only eat RC ingested food, or RC influxed food, which is why they can't eat anything but humans. Cows, chicken, so on, does not have RC cells influxed into it. And if they do eat human food, their physical status will deteriorate, as shown with Toka fighting Shu Tsukiyama. When fighting Shu, Toko's physical status was confirmed to be much weaker, as Shu states, "You could have killed me if you were in your prime." One bite of Kaneki, however, she was able to match and then destroy Shu in effortless one-to-one combat. That kind of shows how strong ghouls can be through cannibalism. Ghouls don't need to eat a lot of food either. They only need to eat 1 to 2 people to survive forever, theoretically. Some ghouls, however, do just eat for pleasure, as shown with Rize, the binge eater. Ghouls enter extreme stress and pain when hunger. They will have their mental abilities impaired and be reduced to instinctive, ravenous monster that will do nothing but feed and feed and feed until they are satisfied with the cost and the food. Now, it's important to state that they will feed on any human meat in this state, even that of a close friend. Kaneki, after being pushed to the point of starvation, nearly fed on his friend before he was knocked out. Same with Nishio. He was pushed to a certain point and immediately took a bite out of his girlfriend, though because of their relationship, she accepted him. It's also stated directly that starvation is hell for any ghoul, and throughout the series we see this as fact. Ghouls have this. Unlike humans who starve, who typically get weaker and more lethargic, ghouls become more ferocious, more instinct-based. They apparently don't need food to sustain their abilities fully, as they can just starve, but then they are considered much more dangerous because they are acting more erratically and less controlled. They also don't seem to slow down that much, weirdly enough. When they eat human food, they slow down. When they don't eat anything, I don't think they dissolve that much physically. I think they're pretty much the same, roughly. I don't know. Going back to what I said earlier, however, ghouls have an incredibly advanced physical capabilities. They are roughly 4 to 7 stronger, or 4 to 7 times stronger than an average human, as the weakest of ghouls. It was in the average human flying with a punch, penetrate the human body with their bare hands, and can jump at heights stories tall. When they receive an injury, they typically can just repair it instantly. They also have some kind of strange resistance to bladed weapons. However, kinetic force can harm them. I find that kind of cool, actually. Ghoul senses are also much keener than those of humans. They can sense meat. Kaneki was able to smell meat from a dead corpse from a couple of blocks away when he first turned into a ghoul. Their hearing, their sight, their smell, everything is drastically increased. Ghouls are also capable of regenerating almost any wound. Kaneki, at the end of part 1, the first half of Tokyo Ghoul, regenerated a complete spear to the brain. He had regenerated limbs getting broken, arms being severed, so on, and kept on fighting. That's partially due to his endurance, but it's also a show of how high his regenerative abilities are if he's able to keep fighting despite the massive blood loss. If blood loss even affects ghouls the same way, I don't know. Ghouls also have an incredibly advanced biology, not in the aspect I just talked about, but instead the fact that they can eat something and immediately get the effects. They are able to completely regain any and all strength, lost after just one or two bites of food. Toka is a prime example of this in the first part of the Tokyo Ghoul series when fighting Shu. Again, after one bite of Kaneki, she went from weaker or maybe a little below, but roughly equal to Shu, to completely dominating him in combat with a weaker Cognate type. That's important to note. She had a Ukaku against a Kokaku, and she still won. That's impressive. And also kind of unheard of to an extent. Goes to show how much more powerful she was, and how much Kaneki's single bite out of his skin, amped her up. Despite all of their strengths, however, ghouls are by no means immortal. They age the same rate as humans, and they have a specific weakness that not many ghouls actually really know about. That being, they are weak and they can't really endure much damage to the mucous membrane, so the nostrils, the eyes, the ears, the lips. Also, generally, a ghoul will die if it suffers enough trauma before its healing factor can stabilize its condition. The most damage that can be inflicted to a ghoul usually comes from other ghouls, as they have the strength to match the durability. However, some can actually some humans can actually fight ghouls through Queen Cave, which I'll explain in another video. But essentially, ghouls are by all means completely unkillable. Humans have no chance of killing them without specially designed Guinke or pure, dumb, stupid luck. There's no way around the fact that ghouls are the apex predator of Tokyo Ghoul. Well, it's not even in the name. Before I go, I'm going to explain a bit about the ghoul lifestyle, because as you might expect, ghouls have a pretty different way of viewing the world as humans. Ghouls have exactly two lifestyles. Hermits, and, well, actually they have three. Hermits, normal people, and some weird middle ground that I can't really explain properly, because it's never really fully shown. Hermits are essentially isolated, avoiding society's eyes, and living on the streets. A homeless person who, just can't deal with humans, and as such, Other ghouls try to assimilate with human lives, and since they don't have the same biological requirements, they don't require as much food as humans, they can expend to live much more luxurious life. So that's never fully shown how that is kept hidden, because it can be kind of implied. You'll spend a lot of money on food, but you're in perfect shape. How's that work? It's never really shown. Now, if they were caught before the unification at the end of the series, they would be either arrested or killed on sight. The CCG has very few rules against protecting ghouls. Now, as such, ghouls typically act discreetly. If they're caught with the CCG, they're screwed. However, since they can hide so perfectly amongst humans, aside from their Kakugan, their black eyes, ghouls can typically hide fairly well through the use of masks. Very common to see ghouls wearing masks. Kaneki, prime example, Toka, all of them. Other ghouls who work like Rize exist and survive solely on their charm, their ability to deceive as a seductress, and so on. They don't wear masks, they don't often get into combat the way they do fight. Because she is a binge eater and considered so powerful, she is shown to have really no restraints on her abilities. Other ghouls, like the Tsukiyama family, however, exist as high-class civilians within the human world. They have organizations, entire worlds, and they live amongst the humans as the upper echelon. Also, a lot of the other ghouls who do somehow exist in the upper echelon typically meet at dining restaurants, ghoul restaurants that have, in some way, the ability to operate an entire killing arena without being caught by tax collectors or police or anything. They never explained that. It's a cool idea, but they never showed how ghouls can just get away with that. And I kind of want to know how, because that makes no sense. But ignoring that part, as ghouls typically live in the upper echelon like that, they are typically seen as very wealthy, luxurious, and like those... how else do I put it? I love the way to put it. They're seen as these great people because they're in perfect condition. And they're fucking... I don't know, it's weird. The author did a lot of good work in the series, but he never explained how ghouls sometimes exist within humans in such drastically strange ways. Like, the fucking dining arena, I don't get it. Now, before I go, I may have stated that there's no real known way how ghouls and RC cells came to exist, but it's implied by Kuki Urie at the end of the series that the dragon, the first one-eyed king, was the one who created ghouls. He was the first ghoul, the strongest ghoul, and through his existence, more ghouls came to spawn. They never explained how he came to exist, though. They never explained that. That was weird. Finally, ghouls have many human qualities amongst besides the fact they look human. They can have allergies to latex, to leather, to plastics, to smoking, etc. They can drink, they can smoke, all that stuff perfectly fine, helping add into the fact they are an apex predator. They can blend in perfectly. I'm gonna talk about other ghoul stuff later, like one-eyed ghouls, the cognate types, and so on, because this video is running on a bit long. But I'm really excited to get into Tokyo Ghoul. They have a lot of cool stuff to talk about. I'm also gonna talk about shows like Darker Than Black, Seven Deadly Sins, so on. Because I really love those shows, and I want to give them some love. So I will see you next time. Please like, comment, subscribe. You know the deal by now. And enjoy. Enlightening anime as always. See ya.